rights and what you take for granted. I have been an NRA supporter and gun owner for many years. I had gun safety training in middle school even before my days in the Marines, and I had hunted all my life. At some time in your life, or at one point in your family's lives, your Second Amendment rights to possess and bear arms have came into effect, whether it be for protection, hunting, or the military. Everyone has been affected. The NRA depends on and needs people like you and me to give our support and help to educate people about our Second Amendment rights. Tonight I will share with you the many reasons why people need to be more aware of what the NRA does and how they fight for your rights. Now that you know there is a need for people to be more aware of their rights, let's look at why this need is so important. The NRA needs your support and donations to educate and defend your rights. The NRA established the Institute of Legislative Action, better known as the ILA, in 1975 to preserve the rights of all law-abiding individuals to purchase, possess, and use firearms for legitimate purposes guaranteed by our Second Amendment rights. The ILA works vigorously to pass pro-gun reform legislation at the state level. These efforts are to enact laws that recognize the rights of honest citizens to carry firearms for self-protection. The Institute is also involved in educating the public about the facts concerning the many facets of firearms ownership in America by distributing millions of brochures and articles about responsible firearms ownership and details of our Second Amendment rights. The ILA is involved in any issue that is directly or indirectly affecting firearms ownership. This includes hunting, access to hunting lands, wilderness issues, and wildlife conservation, law enforcement, related issues, product liability, trapping, crime victims' rights, and criminal justice reform. One of these issues is the emergency powers versus rights to arms, which came about in the New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. Many residents legally armed themselves to protect their lives and property from civil disorder. With no way to call for help from police and no way for them to respond, honest civilians were able to defend themselves and neighbors against looters, arsonists, and other criminals. However, the New Orleans police superintendent ordered the confiscation of all firearms under the State Powers Act. Fortunately, the NRA-ILA lawsuit brought an end to these seizures. U.S. District Court Judge Carl J. Berber held the New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin and Chief Police Warren Raleigh in contempt for illegal gun confiscation. If not for the NRA-ILA fast action, the situation would have been worse. Many states still have the emergency powers laws, but the movement to change these laws are gaining speed. After Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana, 21 additional states have passed these laws to protect the rights of law-abiding gun owners by prohibiting the confiscation of firearms during the time of emergency. Not only does the NRA fight for your rights, the NRA also upholds holds a vital American culture. Hunting is an important part of our economy and culture. Since 1937, hunters have contributed over $4 billion to wildlife species. Hunting also contributes over $30 billion to the economy each year, with 20 million Americans 16 years and older participating each year. Now that you're aware of how the NRA fights for our rights and supports our economy and culture, let's discuss what can be done to help. The best way to change this problem is to educate the public on what the NRA really does and why they fight for these rights. The NRA is not just about death and guns. For instance, firearms are involved in 0.5% of accidental deaths, compared to 37% in motor vehicles, 22% by poisoning, 17% by suffocation, 5% by drowning, 2.9% in fire, and 2.5% in medical mistakes. Since the NRA was established, accidental death rates by firearms have decreased by 94%, and the population has grown from 39 million people in 1871 to 311 million people in 2011. I want to challenge you tonight to tell 2 people about what you have heard about the NRA and tell them to spread the word. Now that you can see there is a simple solution, I want you to think about what it would be like if you didn't have your Second Amendment rights. Without your Second Amendment rights, crime rates would skyrocket. Without your rights to own and possess firearms, criminals would have no fear of honest citizens protecting themselves and their possessions. Also, America's society as we know it would not exist, not only culturally, but financially. Without our Second Amendment rights, our U.S. military standing would decline. There are more firearms owned by the U.S. civilian population than any military in the world. Tonight I have shared with you the information of how important our Second Amendment rights are to us and how the NRA fights for these rights. Remember, not only does the NRA need your contributions, but they also need your help to educate other people in what the NRA fights for. Everyone in this class and our community is affected by the NRA and their fight for our rights. I challenge you tonight to go out and educate 2 of your friends or family on what the NRA really does. The NRA is not only about guns, it is about our rights and our way of life.
Very nice.